Hey, it's Xavier here. The tennis is taking a quick break this week, but we've still got something special for you. A highlights reel from our sister podcast, The Sit Down. We've pulled together some of the best interviews from Season 2, kicking off with Matt and Viv's chat with the legendary Martina Hingis.
At the end of the season in 96, I felt like, I finally kind of got into the groove. I won my first tournaments and at the end of the season, and I had beaten some top 10 players. And I felt like, okay, maybe it's my time to shine. But everybody was also a little bit suspicious. Is she, ready enough? Is she grown up enough to actually win a major? And in my way, in my little, back of my head, I was like, I'm going to show you all, Yeah, I don't know. It was just still amazing. When you look back at it at such a young age to be able to win a slam. Yes, of course, we were a different generation looking at it. We had Monica Seles and Jennifer Capriati who had won big tournaments, big events at being teenagers. So at that time, it was a little bit normal. And I always tried to beat Jennifer Capriati's records, even as a junior. So that was something that... But of course, it was also a big relief to be able to win my first major as being, high seed and one of the favorites to win the tournament.
You still hold the record as the youngest woman to win a Grand Slam singles title. These days we see not as many teenagers at the top of the game. Why do you think that is the case?
I think one of it is maybe because the game has evolved. It has gotten probably more physical, also because of the rackets and the strings. It's just a natural evolution of the sport that is. But even after me, you had a Maria Sharapova who almost, got close with winning her title at Wimbledon, or Coco Gauff. You still get the kind of players that have that special something to be able to win as teenager, or Emma Raducanu when she came from qualifying, winning the US Open title. So I do still believe that it is possible to win Grand Slams at a young age. But definitely what has changed is you have to be disciplined, you have to be fully focused. And it's maybe what the generation has changed. To win a Grand Slam, you need to win 7 matches within 2 weeks. So sometimes players have a highlight, they win a great match or 2 couple rounds, and then all of a sudden they're already happy. That's what I sometimes miss about the game today, that I think, okay, they're satisfied too quickly with their successes. And even if they win a title, they're not able to continue at that high level because everybody puts them already on a big as favorites. But on the other hand, that's why I like to watch someone like Coco Gauff, because she's completely determined and professional about her sport and what she wants to achieve.
It's really cool hearing you talk about the current generation, because what they're doing on court now is your name is coming up in association with a lot of what they're doing. 2 years ago, when Iga Swiatek won 37 matches in a row, everyone kind of dug into the record books to see, who did that last time? And it was you, but it was 25 years ago. And then this year, we were looking at Sabalenka, and she's trying to go for 3 Australian Open titles in a row, and we did the same thing. Who was the last person that did that? And it was you. And so what is it like to hear the current world number 1 and 2 kind of bringing up your milestones again? What's that like to hear?
Yeah, and I do follow tennis, so I'm totally aware of that. So also doing some commentary, obviously, and it makes me proud. Yeah, I mean, at that time you're thinking, okay, it's almost normal that you're winning those titles because everybody expects you to do well. And as later on when I became number 1, so every tournament you go to, everybody expects you to always succeed and win. And so it was same. I was looking, obviously, you have that kind of pressure when you have such a winning streak. Then all of a sudden it's you also get, as a player, I almost thought you get tight, when is that next time that you're going to lose? And eventually it's going to happen. But and also, yeah, you talk about Zabalenka. I mean, she's, she definitely deserves to be number one now with her past or this year, the way she played with winning Grand Slams. But also, I enjoy watching like Mira Andreeva. She was one of those that she made like quarterfinals, semifinals, excuse me, at various events, like at the French, or she did well in Australia, and all of a sudden my name came up. And it was also funny because she, this year, she asked me if I would want to coach her. And I'm a big fan of hers, the way she plays. And unfortunately, I couldn't take that job because of my daughter going to kindergarten, and I'm not able to travel as much. But Conchita Martinez is doing a great job of helping her on the way and defining her game and making her a better player. So we'll see how far she's going to take it.
Were there any players that you particularly loved to compete against?
I think that generation, we all were really educated players, I would say. Like, we all had really good foundation, whether it was the Williams sisters, Lindsay Davenport, Monica Seles, Jennifer Capriati, obviously the couple finals I played against her. And later it was Kim Clijsters and Justine Henin. So I think we had really good foundations and basics and how to play the game. Sometimes, again, today what I miss is not having a plan B or C. Like most of the players, if they do plan A and it doesn't work out, they have a hard time or they struggle with it to find a solution, a way to win. And that's what champions do. Sometimes you just need to win the match, and it doesn't matter how. You can be just ballooning all of a sudden and not just hitting winners from the baseline. And yeah, I think we all had this capability to find a way to win in that generation.
That was from the sit down with Martina Hingis. Scroll back up to episode 1 for the full interview. Next up, Matt sat down with two-time US Open champ Pat Rafter when he was in Melbourne ahead of AO 2025.
Paddle is a fun game. It's new. It's exciting. I'm learning. Tennis, I'm not learning anymore. I'm sort of done with the learning part of it.
That's fair. So you said earlier that tennis was your job. Do you play it much these days now that you're retired?
No, I don't. I never look to play tennis. I have a tennis court at home. The only time I get on the court is if my daughter and my son are in town or my wife really wants to hit. So that's the only time I play it.
So do your kids have a bit of an interest in tennis?
Yeah. I made them play when they were young. They needed to play the game. They need to have some understanding, and they really enjoy it. It's a life sport for them. Then, there's obviously all different levels of tennis, and they're at their own level, but they love it. And so for me, it's a lifetime sport that I wanted to teach them, like swimming. You have to learn to swim. Tennis is another game for me that was very passionate for them to get involved with. If I sit in that same moment of the new 97 US Open win, it's just not, I still don't enjoy it. Okay. It's sort of interesting. When I talk about it and get brought up in conversation, questions, I'll reflect on it, and then I can answer the questions based on my memories of that experience. But I don't sit around, I don't want to go into it.
Okay. Should we skip this next bit of the podcast?
No, absolutely
I'm
not. It's a part that it's a past, and I'm done with it.
Yeah.
And I don't, it's
But like when you reflect on it, is it if it obviously it doesn't come in much and you said it's the past, but when you reflect on it, is the emotion like, I'm really satisfied with what I did, or you're like, nah, I don't connect with it anymore?
That's
like,
different. I think I'm talking about more the emotional feeling, because you can actually take yourself back into all the feelings of it, if you go deep into it.
Yeah.
That bit I don't go into. I go to look back and reflect on, just the achievements. I'm so proud of what I was able to achieve with my career, with my ability. They're stoked, But I don't sit there. But if you want me to reflect on the moments and the situations and the feelings and take myself back into Wimbledon and those times, those things I don't go into.
No, that's fair. And I wasn't going to ask you about that. I was actually going to talk about those things because researching for this interview, I know your career very well. I watched you when I was growing up, but there were some things that came up that I was like, I didn't know Pat did that. Like you apparently, I'm not sure if you know this, but you are one of only 3 men in Open era history. The others are Laver and Edberg. to make the semis of all the slams in singles and doubles, and you're the most recent person that's ever done that.
Oh.
Did you know that?
I knew there's a few of us. I thought there might have been more than that.
Apparently not. So you're in a very select little group of this kind of nice, complete singles, doubles, all the surfaces, all the majors. And yeah, you're apparently the last one that did that whenever you achieved that. It might have been late 90s, early 2000s. I'm not sure when it would have been.
Yeah, doubles, singles. Well, I guess by, I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know when.
But I guess when you look at your career, you won majors, you were world number one, you represented your country, you won Masters titles. You kind of did all of the things that a tennis player would grow up achieving.
I just didn't do a lot of it. You know what I mean? I didn't win 7 of them. I didn't win all of
not many people do.
No. I know. But I think as, you know, you put yourself in the number one category of players, I'd be the worst performing number one category player in many ways.
The worst number one.
Yeah.
It's still a good title to hold. You were number one.
I know, but you put yourself in that category a bit. It's probably the worst one a lot, but I'll take it.
When do you think you were at your career peak? What year or what
98.
time? 98.
Yeah.
That's something else you're the first person to do. The Summer Slam. Cincy, Canada, Cincy, US Open. You're the first one to do that.
Did Andy Roddick do it after me?
Yep.
And then a couple other players I think have done
Rafa.
it. Oh, Rafa has.
You're it.
That's it.
That's it.
Ah.
See, very select group. So 98 was your peak. Do you have, what's your favourite or finest win? And I mean, it could be a match or it could be a tournament.
I think the whole thing is a combination, but the 97 US Open win, my first Grand Slam win, is the most memorable because that was, to me, winning a Grand Slam is what it's all about. It may not have been the prettiest match, but in terms of career changing, it was definitely winning the US Open final.
Okay.
And there's obviously great matches I played. I played a lot of great matches with Andre Agassi, a couple at Wimbledon, a few at Wimbledon. So, yeah, they were awesome. And I got to play in centre court at Wimbledon. In 93, I qualified, got to the third round, played Andre.
In 93, centre court at Wimbledon? I didn't know that.
He kicked my ass, but it was so much fun.
That's awesome. Well, you got him back later at Wimbledon.
Yeah, he got me again in 99, then I've been in 2000, 2001.
So 2-all. That's good.
Played 3 semis in a row.
Yeah. We actually had Donna Kelso, the WTA supervisor, on our podcast a couple of weeks ago, and we asked her, you've been in tennis for 30 years. What are some of your memories? You're always working, but if you were ever watching, what do you remember? And she said your 97 US Open win. She remembers that as an Australian. Yeah. And I remember I was allowed to go to school late that day because it was like 8:30 in the morning in Australia, and we were just watching, waiting for you to win match point, and then we could get in the car to go to school.
Cool.
I was going to ask you one other thing. Yes, when people talk to you about your tennis career, whether it's in an interview or if it's just like people on the street, I'm not sure. What's the one match they bring up?
Oh, probably the 2001 Goran match.
The Wimbledon final?
Yeah, Wimbledon final. Because it's a funny one because I played Sampras the year before in the final. They don't bring that up very much. But the Goran match, they bring up a lot. I think there's just so many emotions going on between both of us. Where Peter won 15 Wimbledons, I don't know. He won a lot of them. Tennis is healthy. The Aussie Open has become, it's bigger than any player right now. It's an event like Wimbledon. It doesn't matter. If you had 200, the top 200 players in the world rock up, over the 100 or 200 people will come and watch it. It's just healthy because of the event is so amazing. And top players will always come along. And we're seeing again, strength with Sinner and Alcaraz. My God. I mean, you look at them playing and go, wow, they're awesome. So they keep coming. It keeps happening. And they will continue to keep happening in the men's and the women's game.
Thanks, Pat. That was from episode 2 if you want to hear the full interview. Now here's Matt again, this time catching up with 2011 AO champion Kim Clijsters over in Indian Wells.
The best part about doing this with Andy is I don't feel like I'm on a podcast. Which is great because we used to reach out through text messages when we were watching tennis games, and we would go back and forth about like, what do you think about this? Well, I think so and so, and like we just have that conversation even now, like when we're talking about like a different topic or a match that we're both watching at the same time. He's like, stop, we got to stop talking about this. like, let's just keep this for the podcast. Like, we don't prepare anything. Everything is really very kind of like, our opinions and how we feel. And I love his tennis brain. I love learning from him.
I love the thought of you two, though, sitting at home watching tennis and texting each other. Like, that's real tennis fandom. I have that with, friends of mine who are not players. Like, we do that. And that has come across, I think, thinking about your career, particularly since you stopped playing. I mean, you're involved with the Hall of Fame. You've done a bit of media. You've also coached. You have an academy. You've played Legends events as well. It sounds like it comes across that you're a real fan of the game. Is that fair?
I love the sport. Like, I fell in love with it when I was almost 5 years old, and I still love playing. Like, people ask me, like, do you miss playing here? And I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I don't miss playing here. I still love playing tennis, and it can be in a local, small little tennis court and, in New Jersey or any public court. Like, I love the sport. And, it's a true passion. And I know it's very rare. Like, I see it with my kids too. Like, I know it was really rare to have found something very naturally that wasn't kind of pushed on me from my parents or anything. Like, to find something that you've loved from such a young age and to, grow into, have it grow into, me still being connected into the sport, right? And I never thought when I was a professional player that I would still be, connected and have this whole tennis family at the Hall of Fame, and now being able to do the Be Legendary program and talk to young kids around the world. Like, I never thought of those things, and it's amazing how tennis kind of brings people together, and that's the beauty of the sport, is that we get the sport is so well known around the world, and we have to thank a lot of the the women that kind of paved the way for us, early on, right? The Billie Jean Kings, and I mean, from there on, Navratilova, Chrissy Everett. I mean, there's so many to name, but it's I'll never forget that. I was 18 years old when I played. I was younger, but I played the juniors at the U.S. Open and listened to Billie Jean King speak, and she was very, she has a very powerful personality, and her passion is so strong. And just listening to her at a young age, I think I was 14, and listening to her talk about the impact and the what it took for them to get to the level where tennis was back then, and now I'm talking maybe 1998 or so. It was amazing. Like, it just stuck with me to be, always be ready to, sign your autographs, take the pictures, be available, accessible to, the media, the fans. I mean, and that's what it is. It's I see it with my daughter now. She loves basketball. Being able to connect with the players that you like or that you watch on TV makes the world a difference, and makes the kids believe that this is a world that is actually accessible and not just something that I watch on TV.
The Australian Open win that you had was your third Grand Slam title as a mother. And your name comes up a lot, particularly now, because there are so many big names that have made recent comebacks to the tour as mums. But you're the only one that's ever managed to win a Grand Slam. I mean, obviously, Yvonne Goolagong, Margaret Court did it, but I think you're the most recent player to win a Grand Slam as a mum. And we've seen a lot of players do well and come close, but they've never done what you did. And I just wonder, well, it's a hard question, I guess, but why do you think that is?
I don't know. I feel like Serena definitely was the one that has come the closest, right, to winning. I don't know how many finals she made. I think maybe 3 or something as a mom when she came back. I don't know. I feel I'm so ready for a new mom to hold a Grand Slam trophy, because I'm proud seeing, so many women in the draw, and see the kids walk around here and seeing, their family members in the players' restaurant, and that's what it's all about. I mean, I remember the first year. So when I came back in 2009, I came back in Cincinnati, and I was playing a tournament there. And there was a player that came up to me and said, oh, man, I wish I did what you did. And that I had, the guts to do it. Because now I'm mid-30s, and I don't have a partner. I've, kind of, been playing a career. And so it really kind of resonated, like, it really made things like sink in for me, and realize like, oh wow, like people, this is an issue for a lot of women, right? Like, I don't know, like there's so many women where your clock starts ticking and you feel like you want to start a family, but at the same time you also feel like, oh, I've been playing tennis for 20 years or even longer, working to be at this level and to play the Grand Slams and having sponsors or not, but like focused on your ranking. And so it's a tough situation to leave to start a family. And, you know, I was very fortunate that I had done well prior, that I, you know, whatever, I was away for two years or so, or a little bit under, but that I had the luxury to do that, and that I had the results to still get access to wildcards if I had to, and which they did. And but that's not for everybody. And so I feel like now with the new PIF WTA maternity fund program that's come out, like I really feel like it's going to make, I mean, this has taken our sport, I feel like, to another level for independent women's athletes, because that's what we are, right? We're all independents, and we don't get the opportunity. Like, you lose your sponsors. You know, if you don't play tournaments, you don't get paid. And there's a lot of players who don't make enough money or haven't saved enough money to say, oh, I would like to start a family because this is what my body and my mind wants to do, and then come back. So now with this program, I really feel very excited to see kind of the new, you know, a new player that will use this program. And there's so many great things about it. This is from supporting, like, financing egg freezing, IVF treatment. I mean, it takes it to a completely different level. And Victoria Azarenka has actually been a big force on the players' task force on the WTA side of it all to push for this. And then with the funds from the PIF, they've been able to make it possible. So very excited about it.
That was from episode 12 with Kim Clijsters. Next, we've got Aussie rising star Maya Joint. Matt spoke with her in Brisbane during her Billie Jean King Cup debut.
So at the end of 2024, when you saw what you did, 61 match wins, a ranking that had improved so much, did you celebrate it in any way when you stopped and go, wow, what a season?
We didn't do anything. I think when I got into the top 100 in Merida, we went and got ice cream, but we do that anyway, so it wasn't really.
That sounds nice.
It wasn't, but I mean, we were aware of it, but I don't know. We didn't really do anything.
Okay.
I think we were in tournaments at the time, so there wasn't really anything to do.
Do you think that helps, actually not focusing on it so much and just like, oh, okay?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I didn't quite believe it at the time, but it was just, it's weird to celebrate something that, you know, like, you're not done yet.
So what is done?
I mean, I guess when you're finished with tennis.
Oh, right.
Or when you get to number one, I guess then you've done it.
You've gone up the rankings as high as you can go.
Then you can celebrate. But I mean, no. I mean, any milestone in the top 100 is really special. A top 50, top 40, top 30, anything is just a crazy achievement. So I think it's important to celebrate when you do it, but not let it take focus away from, like, you're not reached the goal yet.
Well, you've cracked top 80 already, so more than ice cream. That's what I think we need. Yes, we need to think of something. Okay. Top 100 ice cream is pretty nice. Mm-hmm. Top 80, you've made another milestone. What that has done for you, it's just completely changed the way that your schedule and your season is looking. So, like, at the beginning of this year, what has been the experience like suddenly walking onto Rafter Arena under lights in front of 5,000 people to play Azarenka, or playing Pegula on John Cain Arena at a Grand Slam? Like, 12 months ago, you were nowhere near that. So how has that been? Do you realise it in those moments? You're like, oh, wow, like, this is cool, or I can't believe I'm doing this, or like, what's that experience been like?
Yeah, it's definitely a this is ridiculous kind of moment where I didn't really feel like I was supposed to be there, kind of.
Okay.
Like, it just felt really weird, me being there, or playing against Pegula on John Cain. That was walking out into that court, I felt, oh boy, this is, I was like, I'm not winning this match. That's what I was thinking.
Wow, okay.
And I've had to work a lot with my mental coach about just kind of playing those matches, because more of those matches have happened where I'm playing like a name.
Yeah.
And just need to play the ball that's coming at me and not the person, pretty much. But it's a very different experience to what a couple months ago, I guess, a year ago. So it's just been a very crazy transition, but super exciting, and just it's been so cool being able to walk out into the stages with all those people and play against those people, just people that I've watched on television, and then realizing, oh, someone might be watching me on television. This is really weird.
Well, that's actually when I saw you play properly for the first time. The match against Azarenka, I was based in Melbourne. I didn't travel for any of the tournaments. And I watched your night match against Azarenka, and you nearly beat her. It was and I was like, oh wow, I can see, I get the ranking rise. Like, I'd seen Maya Joint going up, and then I'd seen highlights of you at the US Open, but that was the first time I think I'd watched a full match every point. So yeah, and you made that point. You're now playing bigger names more regularly. So there's a really cool stat. Last year, you played 5 top 100 players for the whole year. In the first 2 months of this year, you've played 6 top 50 players. So like, it's just, you're competing against a completely different caliber of player now, and you're beating quite a few of them. What has that experience been like? Playing the ball, playing the opponent, like you seem from the outside to have adjusted to that quite well, but how has that been for you?
Yeah, I feel like whenever I play like a name, I play with no pressure. So it's a really fun experience to be out on the court and just see what I can do, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, it's always exciting to go to a new place, because I had never been to any of those tournaments before. Never played those level of tournaments before. So it's just super exciting to realize that I am there and that I am playing them. And yeah, it's just so fun to be able to play against those kinds of people and have those high-level matches.
That was from episode 17 with Maya Joint. Now, here's Matt and Viv with Thanasi Kokkinakis.
What's been the best feeling you've had on a court?
Best feeling I've had on a court would have to be winning Adelaide. I'd say that was the best I've ever felt. I think it's the first time I've actually kind of cried after a win, just having my friends and family the year before being COVID, and me kind of playing in these smaller cities, just challenger events, and honestly losing money every week to sort of come back and go 8-1 in January and make semis, and then win a home tournament that I'd been growing up playing on those courts when I was sort of 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. Yeah, just doing it in front of people that don't get to see me play that much was special. So for me, that was for sure the best memory I've ever had.
Thanasi, I'm going to cast your mind back a little bit now. I first interviewed you in 2012, as a member of the Junior Davis Cup team in Bendigo.
I actually saw this video the other day. It cracks me up every time.
How did that come across your radar?
I don't know. Probably I've searched my name on YouTube or something. these come up. I remember this Bendigo. We just won the World Junior Teams qualifying.
That's it. You just beaten Japan.
Yeah.
So you remember it very clearly?
I remember it real clearly. Mark Woodford was our coach. I got Lee and Big Gooch.
Apart from the win itself, what did you get out of being in Bendigo this week?
It was a good team environment. All the boys played well. I know Lee felt a bit bad about a few of the losses, but he came up against players that were playing
Thrown
really
Tui
well.
under the bus.
So that's unlucky, but he can keep his head up. And yeah, it's been a good tournament. Everyone played pretty well, and Gooch just stepped up for the doubles when we needed it.
And how will you celebrate?
Skittles. Caltex.
Probably go to Caltex.
I remember.
Get a few Skittles and just relax with the boys.
That's outrageous. We were trying so hard not to laugh that whole interview, as you can tell. And after every win, we'd literally go down to the local Caltex and just get this massive packet of Skittles, and that's what we were doing every day. But yeah, that's the stuff you miss when you kind of grow up. Those sort of tournaments and Davis Cups and World Junior teams representing Australia with your mates. Yeah, you always remember those memories with the coaches that take you out on those tours. It's stuff that when everyone's career is done, we'll hang out and talk about, and they're the things you'll really remember.
Yeah, for sure. If my maths is correct, you would have been 16 at that time. Sort of, when you look back, what do you remember of being 16, and what advice, I guess, would you give yourself now?
What I remember I did a lot of hours, a lot of training, more than probably a lot of people could comprehend. I think that's why I did so well when I was younger, but also potentially maybe that's why I got injured. But I would just tell myself to try and enjoy the journey. It's a long one, and it's hard. A lot of people's parents kind of come to me and they're like, oh, my kid's going to do this, this. And I'm like, just relax. Like, you guys don't know how many steps there are and how big of a journey it is. It's a really long one, and one you've got to stay mentally tough because it's going to test you. In an individual sport, there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. Things aren't going to go well, but you've got to kind of remember why you do it and keep enjoying it and remember the bigger picture. So, yeah, it's hard because you don't know what you don't know from that age. But for me, yeah, it was just to kind of enjoy the journey and lap up every experience because it goes really quick. And I can't believe that's, 13 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe how quick it's gone.
What was the joke? What were you trying not to laugh about?
I don't know. We're just three idiots.
It wasn't.
Wasn't
you.
We're just three clowns, I guess, at that age. I don't actually know what we were laughing at. I think we were just happy and giggly and immature. So still am. So yeah.
Do you ever sort of stop and think about how tennis has changed your life?
Yeah, definitely. I think I've got a few regrets as far as sort of I wish I did things a little bit differently or I took a little bit different steps towards anything. But you know, I've got a lot better than a lot of people. So I try and remind that to myself. I'm happy with how everything's gone. Obviously, could it be better? Yes. Could it have been worse? Yes. But I've still got time in the sport, and yeah, you learn a lot, and I'm still evolving. So yeah, it's a constant journey.
Do times like this where you're off make you consider like what's beyond tennis or life after tennis?
Yeah, definitely. And I've thought about that earlier in my career when I thought that it was the end for me. But now I'm kind of exploring some different avenues. I'm doing a little bit more of this sort of stuff, some podcasts. I'm doing some TV stuff. I'm trying to do some commentary coming up for the French Open. Fantastic. So that'll be fun. And who knows, some TV shows, some media stuff in the future. I think I've always enjoyed that. I feel pretty comfortable in front of a camera and microphone. So, yeah, I try not to look too far ahead, but kind of have one foot through that door to just... think about it, because a lot of people they play tennis and then they're like, what's now or what's next? So for me, I kind of want to have a little bit of an idea, but yeah, tennis is first and foremost, and I'll ride that out as long as I can.
With that, you said that even at the start of the interview, you kind of like doing this media side of the sport. You would have done so many interviews, you've been into so many press conferences. Tennis players often say we're always asked the same kind of questions and it can get repetitive. So like, what is something that you would love to talk about or you'd love journos to ask you more about? You're like, this isn't like, no one knows this part of my story, or that no one ever asked me about this, and we can only ask what we know. But I mean, what is something that you'd like more people to know about your story that we don't?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if I can answer that. I feel like for tennis, you're very sort of clean cut. You can't really say too much. I'd kind of be curious to see what everyone's life is like away from the tennis, whether everyone is kind of based on tennis. Everything they do is for their tennis, or they're trying to enjoy their life and balance it out a little bit. And what they do in their spare time, I think, is an interesting one, rather than just generic answers. I get to sleep and I eat well and get ready for training the next day. So I wouldn't mind if players opened up a little bit more. I don't think it's really up to the journos. I think it's more sort of what the players are willing to give them and spill out, because a lot of them are kind of scared about potentially the repercussions that they may have if they're open and honest, I think.
Now, after Thanasi, Matt and Viv caught up with former French Open and Wimbledon champ Garbiñe Muguruza from her home in Switzerland, no less.
Going back to that Wimbledon, you beat Venus Williams in the final, and so that gave you this really cool milestone that you're the only player to beat Serena Williams and Venus Williams in major finals, like both of them. So, and I think they were idols of yours, weren't they? They were players you looked up to when you were growing up. So how do you think about that when you were like, wow, I beat both the Williams sisters in my Grand Slam finals?
I am happy about it. Some people say like, what a bad luck that you always had those finals. But in a way, like you say, they were like my heroes. So I wanted to play them. For me, it has an extra value, with no disrespecting other players. But for me, beating Serena or Venus in a Grand Slam final had a double value to that Grand Slam. You know, I felt like, wow, like she's best in history and I'm beating the best in history in the final. For me, that was unique and special. And it felt great. I don't think they know that they were my idols, though. I kept it very secret. I had a very big poker face, but I wish I could tell them. You know, I wish I could sit down in, I don't know, one day and just say how much that meant to me, and really like just telling them like how much I loved them when I was a kid, starting tennis in Venezuela with zero chances of making it, and watching them and thinking like, I want to be like Serena, you know? So It was amazing. For me, becoming number one for me was like a dream come true. Some people say that it's better to win Grand Slams. Some people say it's better to be number one. I do admit that it's better to win Grand Slams because that feeling of having the trophy in your hands, feeling the moment, the victory, that's the best. That's unique. Obviously, being world number one, it's amazing, but you cannot feel it. You can't touch it. It's a number that in 1 week, if you don't play well, you might lose it. So it's tricky. But to me, when I was little kid, I always dreamed I want to be world number one. One day I'm going to be world number one. You know, I was like always like repeating this inside of my head. And the day I saw myself at the top of the ranking, I was like, wow, like it's happening. Really, it's happening. Not only I won Grand Slams, but I actually made it to world number one. And this is so difficult. You really need to be consistent. And you really need to be on top of the game and be the best player. It's just, I was like, I couldn't believe it. You know, I couldn't believe it. And I'm so proud of that moment.
Did you screenshot it on the rankings or something?
Of course I did. Of course I did. I screenshot it. It's somewhere on my 17 phones, like whatever. But yes, I screenshot it. And yeah, it was a moment for my family, for all together as well. The journey, such a crazy long journey until that day. And I think we all share a tear and, you know, we felt like it was all worth it in a way. You know, all the sacrifices were worth it.
Well, we got a first-hand view of your Grand Slam successes when Australian Open 2020. You were it was a resurgence tournament for you, really, unseeded, but you beat 3 top 10 players to reach another Slam final. How satisfying was that tournament?
Every time I remind myself that final, it's the most painful match I've ever played. Really, like the most painful loss I've ever had is the Australian Open final. Yes, it was an amazing tournament. I came from a couple tough years and it wasn't an easy tournament. I was very sick at the beginning, but I made it through and every match gave me that extra confidence to keep going. I remember that, you know, I played a semifinals match with Simona Halep and I remember physically it was so tough that I felt like, oh, wow, I almost gave it all what I had. So I don't know what do I have left for the final. You know, physically, I was so tired. It was such a hot day as well. But that final, I was with such a confidence and it just didn't click at the end, you know, and I was very proud of coming back and making it that far in another Grand Slam. But that loss, I keep thinking about it. Like when people ask me, like, what was your most painful loss or what's one thing that you remember that you wish you would have gone my way? Definitely that final. I mean, in 2015, when I played the Wimbledon final, it was my first final. I was playing Serena. It was too much. It was too much to handle. Although, of course, I would have liked to won. I admit that she was way better. She was prepared. And I mean, I was such a rookie. But that 2020 final, I wish I could go back, but it is what it is. Congrats to Sofia. She did play amazing. But yeah, that was a painful one. No one wants to lose in the final of a Grand Slam. Come on. No one remembers the final is. All they care is about the winner. So I want to be the winner, but you know, it is what it is.
Several years later, we sense that you are still following tennis very closely. What do you make of the tour today and what are some of your favorite storylines?
The tour is great. A lot of new faces, a lot of faces from my time as well. But I follow it very closely. Like things that I love is, for example, the Conchi Mirra. I follow all the time. I have all these alerts in my phone when they jump on court and who are they playing. And I chat with Conchi a lot. I actually saw them a couple of times and some matches as well live, which is fun always. I love how Sabalenka is dominating. I watch her quite often. She's just a perfect personality for world number one. She's fun. She's not shy. She has a lot of fans. She keeps her social media active. She has amazing strength and talent. So I really like her as number one. Just following the American tennis is crazy. Navarro, Coco Gauff, Pegula, Madison Keys. What's happening? It's too many players in the top 10. What a success they're having. So I'm following that a lot. Yeah, and seeing Iga a little bit, how she's going to how she's going to play this French Open. Following her as well. I'm really like on top of the tour. Like I've never been so like watching matches and following the news. I thought I was going to be a little bit more passive, but I am super on it. Yeah.
Now for something just a bit different, guest host Jackson Mansell jumped in for a chat with Tim Henman just before Wimbledon 2025.
Look, the first time I went to Wimbledon was when I was 6, and my mum took me in first Monday in 1981, and I saw Bjorn Borg play. And he was defending champion, and you know, I can remember where we were sitting. I've still got the ticket today, and certainly when Borg came out of the doors underneath the Royal Box and walked round onto centre court, that was very much when I made my one and only career decision that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a professional tennis player, and I wanted to play at Wimbledon, and I wanted to play on centre court. So that's the earliest recollection, and been every year since. And I think then to get the opportunity 15 years later to play on centre court, I was a top 100 player by that time. Draw came out and I was playing Evgeny Kokkinakis, who was French Open champion. He just won singles and doubles at Roland Garros. So I knew that was going to be a centre court match, and to then be out there and win 7-5 in the fifth and save 2 match points, I think that was a pretty special way to start my centre court career.
And what does it sort of mean to you to be able to play on centre court, like one of the most prestigious courts in the world, Grand Slam time? What did that experience mean to you? And it's something that you've done on numerous occasions throughout your career.
Yeah, I mean, it meant everything. And first and foremost, you want to be a professional player, so you want to be playing in the Grand Slams. But we are so fortunate to, have Wimbledon in our own country. And so, as I worked my way up, I was, I wasn't a particularly good junior. I did play junior Wimbledon my last year of juniors under 18, and I lost 6-2, 6-1 first round. So, that was 1992. Sort of 4 years later, to be, I think I was probably top 50 when I played Kokkinakis. It was a quick transition, and that Wimbledon and professional tennis, I was always extremely motivated, had a lot of hunger and desire to be a professional player. So the two kind of went hand in hand. But my favorite time of year was always the grass court season. If I could have played my whole career on one court, it would have been centre court at Wimbledon. I absolutely loved that environment, the support that I had. The conditions for most of my career were favourable. The grass got a lot slower in 2002, but no, it was a massive privilege to play at Wimbledon.
And sort of throughout your time, like probably towards the peak of your career, you were considered a serious title contender at events like Queen's and Wimbledon, like throughout that grass court season. I suppose take us inside what it was like being a title contender during those times, like the pressure that you had to deal with and those moments with a whole country behind you. What did that sort of mean to you?
Yeah, it meant an enormous amount, and as I just said, it was my favourite time of year, and I very much thrived in those conditions. I think the question I'm asked most often still is, how did I deal with the pressure and expectation? But the reality was, I didn't feel pressure. Pressure is self-inflicted, and so if you are reading the newspapers and listening to what's been said on television, on the radio, and then that's just not conducive to having a clear mindset as to the way that you want to practice and prepare and then play your matches. And so I always felt that I did a good job of just controlling my controllables, which was my preparation and my performance. And I think when I reflect, 1995, some of you will remember, some of you won't, when I got disqualified at Wimbledon. I was the first person in 125 years to be disqualified. I accidentally hit a ball girl. We were 2 sets to 1 up in the doubles first round in the 4-set tiebreak. So we were pretty close to winning the match. So it wasn't as if I was completely throwing my toys out the pram. But I think that whole scenario, that whole incident was a steep learning curve, because the next day I read all the newspapers and the back page of the Sun. The headline was, "He hit it so hard it could have killed her," and which was just such a ridiculous exaggeration. But I remember sort of thinking to myself two things: I'll never read the newspapers again, and secondly, I better have some half decent results, otherwise I'm going to be remembered as this British player that was disqualified at the championship. So I think then moving on from that, I was able to focus on what I was doing, and I had always had a small but very good team around me, a great family, and those were the opinions that I listened to. I didn't really listen to anyone else, and so I think on the back of not really having any particularly I would say sort of title contenders, as you mentioned, prior to me in the men's game, I think then when I came along and I was getting to the latter stages of Queens and Wimbledon, I think that's where and why I had so much support, and I loved it.
Well, you talk about half decent results. You're a 4-time semi-finalist at Wimbledon, at your home slam. Like, how proud of you of those experiences and those moments and reaching the latter stage of a slam like that?
Yeah, definitely. I grew up in an environment where, I heard the narrative, we've got the best tennis tournament in the world and no players. And I always believed that I could be a good player. So then, once you have, progressed up through the ranks of, being top 100, top 50, top 20, top 10, top 5, and grass was a great surface for me. It suited my attacking style. To be, deep in the second week and, playing some of the greats of the game, it was amazing. And sure, I'd love to have won it, but and I think I was good enough to win Wimbledon. I think there were other players that were better than me. As you say, to get to 4 semi-finals and some of the nature of those matches, I think I was good enough to win it. But as I said, Sampras was in a different class. He was one of the greatest grass court players of all time, and and lost to Hewitt in 2002. He was absolutely number one in the world, and in those types of conditions, it was much slower. That was the first year, and he played Nalbandian in the final, and I think there were 6 baseliners in the quarterfinals. That had never happened at Wimbledon, so that was a difficult change. And then obviously 2001 against Ivanisevic, I'd played many matches that I'd been delayed and come back the next day, but never played over 3 days and add to that the sort of magnitude of the match. That was definitely one of the toughest matches of my career, and if I could play one again, it would be that one.
And I suppose 3 days playing against Ivanisevic and wanting to sort of change that, like, what would you do, I suppose, if you had your time again in that moment? Obviously, easier said than done. Have the roof
pretty quick. That probably would have helped. But no, I mean, I as I said, and people tend to forget, there were plenty of times where I did have an interruption when I wasn't playing well, and then came back. Todd Martin, I remember, I had a problem. I had a back spasm just when I was warming up against him, and I was down 2-1, and I was struggling, and we had to come back the next day, and I came back the next day and won the 4th and 5th, relatively comfortably. But people don't tend to remember those occasions because the focus was all on the Ivanisevic match. And sure, I won the 3rd set 6-love, I think in 14 minutes and only lost 4 points. And that was the fastest set in my whole career in the Wimbledon semi-final. And at that stage, Goran was, I think, mentally pretty gone. But then the rain came in the early part of the 4th set, and he was able to regroup and, go home and come back fresh the next day. So, look, that's just the way it goes. I'm not the type of person that looks back a great deal. I enjoy talking about it, but for me, I never dwelt on these things, and I'm just, very proud of, my career, and I still, I love the game. I'm still involved in the game, and here we are.
Now we're almost at the end, but there really are so many great interviews available on the sit down. But to finish us off, Matt and Viv spoke with one of our absolute favourite combos, Christian and Casper Ruud, during the Cincinnati Open.
Casper, were those benchmarks that Christian set goals for you, or did you have different goals?
I remember we had a school project once when I was, 12, 13. And I remember at that age, I said that my main goal was to be top 50 in the world within 2025, I think, or something like this, which we are at now. And I felt at 12 years old, watching, all the greats on TV almost every day, if I could, Rafa, Roger, Novak, and all of the other ones, Stan, Söderling, Swedish, and a lot of other guys, I can just go on and name, but that felt like a realistic goal because I felt like tennis had become, they were playing so good tennis. So I didn't necessarily think every day of my life when I was 12 that I was going to be number 1 in the world or top 10. That was going to happen for certain. So I set more of a realistic goal, which I felt like was, humble, but still being top 50 in the world is a really, really good achievement in itself. So I remember at 12, that was like my main realistic goal, and if I reached that, I would be very proud. I was thinking back then. And then when I grew up, I was asked hundreds of times by the media, Norwegian media, like, when are you going to beat your father, the record 39, when are you going to beat him, this, that. And
sorry to bring it up again.
Just to say, no, that's fine, because I'm going to get to the point, but I was getting tired of it, towards the end. And I would always say, it's not about when, it's about if you ask me, because reaching 39 in the world in 2020 or 2019 or whatever, it's not like it's just going to happen guaranteed. Like, I think a lot of the media in Norway are very focused on soccer, and I told them, this is not soccer. You don't sign a contract that you're going to be top 20 in the world. You have to work your way up. Every single spot is just purely based on your result and having good results along the way. So sure, I'm going to try my best, and I hope I beat it one day. The record of being 39, ranked number 39, and the sooner the better in a way. But if I end my career never having beaten that, and let's say I get to number 50 or 40, I will still be happy with my career. But it was nice to get it done, because then they didn't need to ask anymore about
the question stopped.
But then the other question came up: how did it feel when you did it? So I've heard that one too, but it's no problem. I think it's fun to talk about now, and like he said, I think my dad was very proud of it, and myself too. And since then, I remember it quite clearly, because it was one of the last weeks before it shut down with COVID. I won my first title in Buenos Aires back in 2020, February.
Oh yeah.
And then I reached final in Chile a week later, which got me to like 32 or something like this. And then it shut down. We didn't play for like half a year. So, I was good. I was 32 in the world. I was home, didn't have to play. I was just, enjoying my time at home. And I knew that I'd beaten the record. So I think that COVID period would have been tough if I was like 42, and couldn't had any chance to, Yes, I'm happy that I was able to do it right before. And then I think we did some really good training and work during the COVID break, let's call it, of 3-4 months. And I think those who worked harder and, sophisticated, structured every day, they kind of not separated, but they had a good curve after COVID. And you could almost clearly see who didn't train that hard for those 4 or 5 months, and who kind of fell off a little bit. And we had that thing where the ranking system was semi-frozen and this and that. So a lot of things happened. But since COVID, I've just, only really gone steady one way, which has been great. But since we started COVID, it went faster than I thought was maybe realistic. From, let's say, August 2020 until August 22, I went from 32 to number 2 in the world, which is quite crazy when you think about it in the span of just 2 years. Because 2 years ago, I wasn't like I was no like superstar as a junior, or I didn't have like an unbelievable result. So for me to go from ranked 32 in August or 30, let's say in August, September 2020, and then 2 years later I played for world number one in my first slam title against Alcaraz in the US Open was an incredible curve that went, honestly quite fast, which was in a way a little life-changing and career-changing for me, but it was of course very fun. I think I'm glad that he watched a lot of tennis through commentating at that time, because Roger, Rafa, and Novak, they kind of took it to a new level when they arrived, and they were so dominant for all of their careers pretty much. So they set the standard and bar really high, and it's a little bit, it's unique. They're kind of generational few talents that come up, and those three I got to witness and watch every day, or more or less, for my youth and childhood, and try to learn from all of them. Personally, I always kind of idolized Rafa even more because I thought it was fun to watch, and when him and Roger played, it was like fire and ice in terms that the games were very different, but they played some incredible matches and rallies all the time. And then so yeah, there's pictures of me when I was young. I was like wearing full Rafa outfit, even like a wig to have long hair and bandana.
In the forehand.
Yeah. So that was just the only wish was that I was lefty maybe, so I had exactly the same. But yeah, I really, really idolized him, and realized, if you have a big weapon from the baseline, you can reach far. And of course, there are a lot of other things that needs to come in place. Fitness. Psychologically, mentally, you need to be, also a good competitor in these things. But ground stroke wise, I think my dad had a plan for me to develop a big killer shot, and for me that was always the natural shot, was the forehand for me.
It must have been such a thrill to go from admiring those players, particularly Rafa, and then going on to play such big matches against him.
Yeah, it's really fun. You have to pinch your arm every now and then when you're an athlete, and you watch your idols become, in a way, rivals and opponents. Is really fun, and I'm very proud because I got to play all three of them. And also I want to add Andy Murray in there, because he was also a big part of my, not childhood, but I was watching him a lot. He was always challenging them to like the highest level, even though he didn't end up with as many slams as them or these things, but he was always there for my most part and challenging them. So having played all those four has been kind of like a checklist for me to say I played the four greatest players I watched when I grew up, and it's been really fun. I never got to beat Roger or Rafa, but I'm also proud to say I've beaten Andy and Novak, and I have a bad record against Novak, but at least I have one win, so that's something I'll take with me. And he's also inching towards the end of his career, unfortunately, but that's how it goes. And the four of them had some great matches down under as well. I remember particularly many matches where those four, they just took it to like
crazy level.
Yeah, crazy level.
I guess, Casper, your breakthrough at a Grand Slam level did come here when you made the second week of a major for the first time in 2021. Was it meaningful to reach the same round and have your breakthrough at the same tournament that Christian did?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, 2021 was a very good year for me in many ways. I think I won 5 ATP 250 tournaments, and I reached a few semifinals in Masters 1000 and such. So that was a kind of a breakthrough year for me, like we talked about earlier about the COVID break, how I kind of started the fall 2020 as number 30 or 35 or whatever it was. And then from there, it just kind of gradually went a little higher. And 21 was a big year, and a year I started believing that I could have some good results because I was winning tournaments, and I reached some semis of 1,000, which was a big result back then, and still is. Don't get me wrong, but for the first time and second and third time, it's more of a little bit of a surprise for your career. But I didn't have a very good slam result, except for Australia. I lost early in the slam, so when 22 came around, that was a big goal to have a good slam result, and then I reached 2 finals, which was a little also surprising. I mean, first one happened in Paris, and then more to surprise was in New York. I remember I lost every practice set in the practice week to any player I would lose, and then 3 weeks later I was there in the final and played some of my best hardcore tennis, or tennis that I've ever played. So crazy how tennis works sometimes.
So there you go, just a handful of highlights from Season 2 of The Sit Down. If you liked what you heard, you can find all the full episodes in the Sit Down feed. Links are in the description of this app. The Tennis will be back next week with so much more as we start building towards the year-end finals. We'll catch you then. Have a great week.
Hey everyone, Harps and Andy here. Just want to remind you that you can watch every episode of The Tennis on our YouTube channel, Australian Open TV, and you can also catch us on Tennis Plus by heading to ausopen.com/Tennis Plus.
And if you want to flick us an email, feedback, thoughts on the show, comments, we're at podcast@tennis.com.au. One of us two will read it. But in the meantime, we'll catch you on the next one.
See ya.